Good morning. Today we're going to look at something that's been close to my heart for a very, very long time, but we're going to go to Holland and we're going to look at the actual place where the Pilgrims left Delfshaven, Holland on the boat, the Speedwell. I'm going to start with a little video presentation, a little slideshow. Then I'm going to stop and go back through it frame by frame and share some things that you may have never heard. But when you're standing there in a historical point, you get a bigger picture of the way things were and are. So here we go. Now, this is a replica of the Mayflower, but as you saw in the end of the video there, they did not leave Holland on the Mayflower. This is just a replica of the Mayflower that's inside the church that I'm going to show you. But if you'll notice here, this thing is heavily armed. It's got 4 or 5 cannons that are showing off of this side, and there's a couple in the back. So you're looking at a 12-gun ship. I mean, they were very well armed people. But anyway, the next frame here that we'll get to, we'll just let it play. This is inside the church itself. This is the original church that was standing there in 1620. And it's a magnificent, magnificent building, but it's basically the whole church now is a memorial to the Pilgrims. Even to this day in Holland, they are very proud of their contribution to America. And so this is one of the things, and it says, "One in Christ, from Delfshaven, July 22nd, AD 1620, the Pilgrim Fathers began their voyage to New England. Obliged by the good and courteous entreaty which we have found in your country, we and our children are bound to be thankful." Governor William Bradford to the Dutch on Manhattan, March 19th, 1627. In token of enduring gratitude and in Christian brotherhood, the Boston Congregational Club reared this memorial, July 1906. But it's unique and significantly important right here, this little phrase, "one in Christ, united as one body of believers." Now, this is me standing in front of this church years and years of quite a few years back. But if you'll notice right here on the wall, there's nothing there. And I think this was in like 2017. But I heard that, or I saw when I was going through some photos on the internet about this place, that I noticed that there was a plaque there. So I made sure that the next time I went over to Holland, I would go by there and take another picture. Okay, so this is the plaque that was, I was informed that they had taken this plaque down to clean it. And so when I went there that first time, it was down for cleaning, but this is it. It says this is the starting point of the speedwell. Remember I told you they did not leave Holland on the Mayflower. That's a whole different story and a whole different video. Anyway, on which the Pilgrim Fathers sailed to England on August the 1st, 1620. They changed the boat there for the Mayflower bound for the New World. And you can see here that it's in English and Dutch. And you might ask yourself, well, what's the big deal about this place? What's the big deal about this one church? And why, who cares where they left from or why they left from? And hopefully this will be an enlightenment to you. But you can see this is a photo from the opposite side of the canal, which goes right out into this major, humongous river that's one of the busiest seaports in the world, called Amsterdam now. Excuse me, Rotterdam, not Amsterdam, Rotterdam. But Delfshaven was the name of the harbor back in 1620. Have you ever heard of Delft pottery? That's where it comes from, Delft. So this is Delfshaven or Delft's harbor, the harbor of Delft. Delft, excuse me, pardon my Dutch. My mother-in-law was Dutch, and so we would take her over here every year or so to visit her family. But anyway, you can see the plaque right here. That's why we took this picture. Just another view. It gives you a little bit more idea of the canal. And there's the belfry. Now, the only thing that's been changed here is the belfry. If you look back here in the corner right here, you can see the church itself in the steeple. And so this right here is the painting in the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol. So what's the big idea? What's the point of all of this? Well, this was such a monumental event in the history of the development of the United States of America that they had a painting done, which is like 20 feet long and 12 feet high. The size of the people are actual sizes of the people. But this is the Leiden church congregation getting on a boat, and it's called right here the Speedwell. See that? Most people, when they look at this, they don't pay attention to this being the Speedwell and not the Mayflower. You can see all the people over here on the side. These are the citizens of Holland and some of the Pilgrims that became known as the Pilgrims saying goodbye. This was a huge, huge solemn ceremony. They were here for hours having a church service. There were so many people they couldn't all fit in the church. The people of Holland was sad to see them go. Half of their church group from Holland were sad to see them go, but these people believed that they were starting something huge, that they were going to be the Pilgrims that went and brought this book right here to American shores. And this is the most important aspect of this whole entire painting. Was the rest of the paintings in the rotunda before the Declaration of Independence in the founding era shows different aspects of the discovery of America in Jamestown and here, but it doesn't talk about Plymouth. It talks about what they did in Holland, and they brought this book to American shores. Believe it or not, this is the book where they got most of their arguments about constitutional issues back and forth with England. This is where most of the things in the Declaration of Independence come from. and it's called the Geneva Bible. The Geneva Bible was one of the main reasons that King James had his own Bible printed, and they call it the authorized version. You're authorized to read the King James Bible, but you're forbidden to read this one because of the footnotes and the side notes of this thing. But you'll also notice another thing about this. Not too long ago, we had a president that was demeaning the people that clung to their Bibles and their guns. So what are these people here doing? Now, we got to remember, this is a home-based Bible fellowship. It had about 300 members. That's basically what they were, a home-based Bible study group that left England, went over to Holland for religious liberty, so they could read this book right here without being molested. Thrown in prison, burned at stakes, mauled, maimed, beaten, imprisoned, bankrupted, all that kind of things, just so they could read that book and discuss it freely, which is our First Amendment. But here's another thing. Look at their armaments. They've got defensive and offensive weapons here. They've got the armor to protect themselves, and they've got the muskets to fight back with. So they made sure that they were fully armed with the whole armor of God, figuratively and literally, like we saw in the Pilgrim, or the National Monument to the Forefathers. And these are the forefathers that the Matrix of Liberty was designed for. And you can look in our archives and you can see that other video. But this right here it is such a significant thing that it is in the center of the U.S. Capitol building to depict the American history. And this was one of the signal events in American history, is the Pilgrims leaving Holland from this church in Delfshaven in 1620 on a boat called the Speedwell, and they came clinging to their Bible and their guns. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Have a great day.